Have you ever looked in the mirror after weeks or even months of doing crunches, planks, or sit-ups and wondered, why doesn't my stomach look or feel any stronger? Maybe you've stayed active, followed workout videos, and to eat well, yet your belly still seems to push outward. Perhaps your lower back aches after standing for a while, or getting out of bed feels harder than it should. If that sounds familiar, you're far from alone. Many people believe that a bulging belly automatically means extra body fat or that they simply haven't exercised enough. It's an understandable assumption. After all, we've been told for years that stronger abdominal muscles come from doing more AB exercises. But what if that's only part of the story? Here's something that surprises many people. Sometimes the real problem isn't a lack of effort. It isn't laziness. It isn't even weak six-pack muscles. The missing piece may be a different part of your core that most people have never heard of, yet they rely on it every single day. Think of your core like the foundation of a house. You can repaint the walls and replace the roof, but if the foundation becomes unstable, the whole structure struggles to do its job. In much the same way, your body depends on deep support beneath the muscles you can see. When that support isn't working well, doing more traditional abdominal exercises may not solve the problem. In some cases, they may even make it harder to improve. Research suggests that not all abdominal weakness has the same cause. For some people, the issue involves stretched connective tissue, the strong material that helps hold your abdominal muscles together. When that tissue loses tension, your core may feel less stable, even if your visible muscles are working hard. That brings us to an important promise. Today, you'll learn why one simple movement may matter more than dozens of popular exercises. This isn't a miracle cure, and it isn't about chasing a perfect-looking stomach. It's about understanding how your body was designed to work so you can make smarter choices that support long-term strength. Because once you understand what's really happening, everything else begins to make much more sense. If this problem isn't really about weak six-pack muscles, then what is actually happening underneath the skin? To understand what's going on, let's picture your abdominal muscles in a much simpler way. Imagine two curtains hanging side by side. They sit close together, meeting in the middle. Between those two curtains is a strong strip of connective tissue, a tough, flexible material that helps keep everything supported. Unlike muscles, connective tissue doesn't contract to create movement. Instead, it acts more like a sturdy seam holding the two sides together. When that middle seam stretches too much, the two muscle sections begin to drift farther apart. This condition is called diastasis, or Diastasis Recti. The word may sound complicated, but the idea is surprisingly straightforward. The muscles themselves are still there. They've simply moved farther away from each other because the tissue between them has lost some of its firmness. Think about a zipper that's partially opened. The fabric on both sides still exists, but they no longer meet neatly in the center. Or picture the waistband of an old pair of sweatpants. When the elastic stretches out, the waistband becomes loose, even though the fabric hasn't disappeared. Another helpful image is a camping tent. If one of the main support ropes loses tension, the tent doesn't collapse completely, but it becomes less stable and doesn't hold its shape as well. Your abdomen works in a similar way. As the connective tissue stretches, pressure inside your abdomen becomes harder to control. Every time you cough, stand up, lift a box, or even laugh, that pressure pushes outward. If the deep support system isn't doing its job, the front of the abdomen may bulge instead of staying firm. This is why some people notice changes beyond the appearance of their stomach. They may feel less stable when walking, have difficulty getting out of a chair, or develop nagging lower back discomfort. It's not simply because the muscles are weak, it's because the entire support system isn't working together as efficiently as it once did. Several factors can increase the risk of developing diastasis. Pregnancy is one of the most common because the growing baby naturally stretches the abdominal wall, but it's certainly not the only cause. Aging can reduce the strength and elasticity of connective tissue. Carrying excess body weight places additional pressure on the abdomen. Chronic coughing, repeated heavy lifting, and anything that constantly increases pressure inside the belly can gradually stretch that central tissue over time. Understanding this difference is incredibly important. Muscle weakness and stretched connective tissue are related, but they are not exactly the same problem. Once you recognize that distinction, the path toward recovery becomes much clearer. Now that we know what separates, the next question is even more important. Why do so many common exercises make it worse instead of better? Now comes the part that catches many people off guard. If you've been working hard to strengthen your stomach, you might assume that every abdominal exercise is moving you closer to recovery. It seems logical. Stronger muscles should solve the problem, right? But when it comes to diastasis, the body doesn't always follow that simple equation. Many traditional exercises, including crunches, sit-ups, aggressive leg raises, and even planks performed with poor technique, can place a large amount of pressure inside the abdomen. If the deep support system isn't ready to manage that pressure, it has to go somewhere. Often it pushes outward against the already stretched connective tissue. Imagine squeezing a tube of toothpaste with the cap still on. The pressure builds until it finds the weakest place to escape. Your abdomen behaves in a similar way. When pressure rises faster than your core can control it, the front of the abdominal wall may push outward instead of staying supported. One sign of this is something therapists often call doming. You may notice a ridge or raised area running down the middle of your stomach during certain movements. Instead of the abdomen staying relatively flat as the muscles work together, it forms a small peak. While this doesn't automatically mean damage is occurring every time, it can be a clue that your body is struggling to manage internal pressure efficiently. Breath plays a much bigger role than most people realize. Many of us naturally hold our breath when lifting something heavy or trying to push through a difficult exercise. It feels like it creates strength, but it also increases pressure inside the abdomen. Without good pressure control, that extra force may work against the healing process instead of supporting it. This leads to one of the biggest myths surrounding diastasis. The myth says, if I strengthen my abs, the gap closes. The reality is more nuanced. Building strength is certainly important, but strength without pressure control may delay recovery. It's a little like trying to repair a crack in a wall while someone keeps pushing against it from the other side. No matter how hard you work, the constant force makes progress much more difficult. Research suggests that learning to coordinate breathing, posture, and deep core activation before progressing to more demanding exercises may improve function and help reduce unnecessary strain. That's why many rehabilitation specialists begin with surprisingly gentle movements rather than intense workouts. This can feel almost backward. We're used to believing that harder workouts always produce better results. Yet sometimes the smartest approach is to slow down, master the basics, and give your body the stable foundation it needs before adding greater challenges. Doing less doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing the right starting point. Once that foundation becomes stronger, many people can safely build toward more challenging activities with greater confidence and control. So if these popular exercises aren't the answer, what does the body actually need first? So if traditional abdominal exercises aren't the best place to begin, what is? The answer lies in a muscle that most people never see, rarely hear about, and almost never train on purpose. Yet it quietly supports nearly every movement you make throughout the day. This muscle is called the transverse abdominis. Don't worry about remembering the name. Think of it as your body's natural support belt. Unlike the muscles that create the familiar six-pack appearance, this one sits much deeper, wrapping around your waist almost like a wide, built-in corset. Its main job isn't to help you bend or twist. Its job is to provide stability before you move. Your abdominal wall is made up of several layers, much like the layers of clothing you wear on a cold day. The outer layers help produce larger movements and are easier to see. The deeper layers work behind the scenes. They don't attract much attention, but they are essential for keeping your spine and abdomen supported during everyday life. The transverse abdominis doesn't work alone. It's part of an impressive team. Above it sits the diaphragm, the large muscle that helps you breathe. Below it is the pelvic floor, a group of muscles that supports the organs in your pelvis. Along your back are small muscles called the multifidus, which help stabilize each vertebra of the spine. When these muscles coordinate their actions, they create a balanced system that manages pressure inside your abdomen. Imagine inflating a balloon inside a sturdy box. If every side of the box is strong and works together, the pressure stays evenly controlled. But if one side becomes weak or stretched, the pressure begins pushing where there's the least resistance. Your body works in much the same way. Good pressure management isn't about eliminating pressure. It's about directing and controlling it so your tissues aren't overloaded. This system is active during many movements you probably never think about. Before you stand up from a chair, your deep core prepares your body for the effort. As you walk, it helps keep your spine steady with every step. When you carry grocery bags, it shares the load so your back isn't doing all the work. Even rolling out of bed each morning depends on this quiet support system working efficiently. That's why someone can have well-developed outer abdominal muscles and still struggle with core stability. Visible strength and functional support aren't always the same thing. One helps you look strong, the other helps you move safely, maintain balance, and protect your spine throughout the day. The encouraging news is that this deep support system can often be improved with consistent practice. Research suggests that learning to activate these muscles correctly may improve core function and help reduce unnecessary strain on the abdominal wall. It isn't about squeezing as hard as possible. It's about teaching your body to work the way it was designed to. And this brings us to the exercise that many rehabilitation specialists teach before almost anything else. Now we've reached the exercise that ties everything together. It isn't flashy, and it probably won't leave you sweating. In fact, if someone watched you doing it, they might wonder whether you were exercising at all. Yet many physical therapists and rehabilitation specialists begin here, because this simple movement teaches the deep core how to work as a team again. The foundation is diaphragmatic breathing combined with gentle activation of the transverse abdominis, your body's natural support belt. At first, that may sound more like a breathing lesson than a workout. In many ways, that's exactly the point. Start by lying comfortably on your back with your knees bent and your feet resting on the floor. Allow your shoulders to relax and let your neck stay comfortable. Place one hand on your chest and the other on your lower abdomen. This gives you an easy way to notice how your body moves as you breathe. Take a slow, gentle breath in through your nose. As you inhale, let the lower hand rise slightly as your ribs and belly expand naturally. There's no need to force a big breath. Think of filling your lungs smoothly instead of quickly. Now, breathe out slowly through your mouth. As the air leaves your lungs, imagine gently tightening a wide belt around your waist. The movement should feel subtle, not dramatic. You're not pulling your stomach in as hard as you can. You're simply encouraging the deep muscles to wake up and provide support. This is where many beginners make a common mistake. They suck in their stomach as if trying to fit into a smaller pair of pants. That creates unnecessary tension and often activates the wrong muscles. Others hold their breath because it feels stronger. Unfortunately, holding your breath usually increases pressure inside the abdomen, which is exactly what we're trying to manage more effectively. Instead, keep breathing naturally. Your exhale and your gentle core engagement should work together. Think of them as partners rather than separate actions. You shouldn't feel strain, you should feel control. Another mistake is trying to do too much, too soon. Some people tighten every muscle in their body, clench their jaw, lift their shoulders, or flatten their back into the floor. None of that is necessary. The goal isn't maximum effort. The goal is smooth coordination. Research suggests that learning this coordinated breathing pattern may improve deep core function and help manage abdominal pressure more effectively. While it may seem simple, these small movements create the foundation for larger, more demanding activities later on. Practice slowly. Even 5 to 10 careful repetitions can be more valuable than 50 rushed ones. As your coordination improves, you can gradually practice this gentle activation while sitting, standing, walking, or performing everyday tasks. Over time, your deep core begins to respond more automatically instead of only during exercise. Many people wonder how often they should practice. Because this exercise is gentle, many experts recommend short sessions once or twice a day, especially while you're learning the technique. Consistency matters much more than intensity. A few mindful minutes each day often accomplish more than one exhausting workout every week. What does progress feel like? You may notice that standing becomes easier, your posture feels more natural, or getting out of bed requires less effort. Some people describe feeling more supported through the middle of their body before they notice any visible changes in their abdomen. That's encouraging because it suggests your core is beginning to function better from the inside out. This is one of the biggest surprises. Many people notice meaningful improvements before they ever return to harder exercises. They aren't stronger because they're working harder. They're stronger because they're finally using the right muscles in the right sequence. But one exercise alone isn't enough if certain daily habits keep undoing your progress. Learning the right exercise is an important first step, but what you do during the other 23 hours of the day matters just as much. Many people spend a few minutes practicing healthy core activation, then unknowingly place unnecessary stress on their abdomen through everyday habits. Over time, those repeated moments can add up. Think about how you get out of bed each morning. It's tempting to sit straight up, especially if you're in a hurry, but that movement can place extra pressure on the front of the abdominal wall. Instead, many rehabilitation specialists recommend rolling onto your side first, then using your arms to help push yourself into a sitting position. It may feel unfamiliar at first, but it often places less strain on the healing tissues. Lifting is another common challenge. Whether you're carrying grocery bags, picking up a grandchild, or moving a box around the house, it's easy to forget about your breathing. Rather than holding your breath and pulling with your back, try breathing out gently as you lift while keeping the object close to your body. This simple adjustment may help your deep core provide better support. Chronic constipation is another factor that often goes unnoticed. Repeated straining during bowel movements increases pressure inside the abdomen. Staying well hydrated, eating enough fiber, and discussing ongoing constipation with your healthcare professional can support both your digestive health and your recovery. The same is true for a persistent cough. Frequent forceful coughing creates repeated pressure against the abdominal wall. If you have a cough that doesn't improve, it's worth talking with your healthcare provider to identify and treat the underlying cause instead of simply waiting for it to disappear. Body weight can also influence recovery. Carrying extra weight around the abdomen may increase ongoing pressure on the connective tissue. The goal isn't chasing a certain number on the scale. Even gradual, sustainable lifestyle changes that support a healthy weight may reduce stress on your core while improving overall health. Your posture throughout the day deserves attention as well. Sitting slumped for hours can make it harder for your deep core muscles to work efficiently. Try sitting with your feet supported, your shoulders relaxed, and your spine comfortably upright rather than rigid. The same idea applies when standing. You don't need to stand like a soldier. Instead, aim for balanced alignment that allows your muscles to share the workload naturally. Even your breathing habits matter. Many people breathe shallowly into the upper chest, especially during stress. Taking slow, relaxed breaths that allow the diaphragm to move comfortably encourages the deep core muscles to work together the way they were designed. Sleeping positions may also make a difference in comfort. While there isn't one perfect position for everyone, many people find that sleeping on their side with a pillow supporting their knees or sleeping on their back with a pillow under the knees helps reduce unnecessary strain. Perhaps the most important habit of all is resisting the urge to rush. It's natural to want quick progress, especially once you begin feeling better. But recovery usually happens in stages. Start with movements you can perform comfortably and with good control. As your stability improves, you can gradually return to more demanding activities without overwhelming your body's support system. Healing isn't built by one perfect workout. It's shaped by hundreds of small decisions made throughout the day. Even if you're doing everything right, how do you know whether you're actually improving? One of the hardest parts of any recovery is wondering whether your efforts are actually paying off. When progress happens gradually, it's easy to miss the small improvements that often come before obvious physical changes. That's why it's helpful to know what healthy progress usually looks like and when it's time to seek additional support. Let's start with the encouraging signs. For many people, the first improvements have very little to do with appearance. Instead of seeing a dramatic difference in the mirror, they begin noticing everyday activities feel easier. Standing for longer periods may become more comfortable. Walking may feel steadier. Getting up from a chair or climbing stairs may require less effort than before. Posture is another positive clue. As your deep core becomes more coordinated, you may naturally stand taller without forcing yourself to do so. Your shoulders feel more relaxed and your body seems better balanced. You're not constantly reminding yourself to stand up straight. It simply starts happening more naturally. Some people also notice that their lower back feels less tired at the end of the day. This makes sense because when your core provides better support, your back muscles don't have to work quite as hard to keep you upright. Research suggests that improving core function may help reduce discomfort for some individuals, although everyone's experience is different. Better control during movement is another meaningful sign of progress. You may find that lifting groceries, reaching into a cupboard, or rolling out of bed feels smoother and more stable. If you experienced abdominal bulging or doming during certain movements before, you might notice it becoming less noticeable as your coordination improves. Visible changes can happen as well, but they often take longer than people expect. Healing connective tissue and retraining muscles is usually a gradual process rather than an overnight transformation. Depending on your overall health, your activity level, and the underlying cause of your diastasis, meaningful improvement may take weeks or even months of consistent practice. That word, consistency, is worth emphasizing. Small efforts repeated regularly almost always outperform occasional bursts of intense exercise. Think of it like watering a garden. You don't pour hundreds of gallons on the plants once a month and expect them to thrive. They benefit far more from steady care over time. At the same time, it's important to recognize situations where self-care may not be enough. Persistent or worsening pain should never be ignored. While mild muscle fatigue can be normal when learning new exercises, ongoing pain deserves medical attention. A large bulge in the abdomen, especially one that becomes more noticeable with coughing or lifting, should also be evaluated. In some cases, it could suggest a hernia, which occurs when tissue pushes through a weak area in the abdominal wall. A hernia requires proper medical assessment because the treatment approach may be different from diastasis alone. You should also speak with a healthcare professional if your symptoms continue getting worse despite careful exercise, or if basic activities such as walking, standing, or getting out of bed become increasingly difficult instead of easier. For many people, working with a physical therapist who has experience treating core and abdominal conditions can be especially valuable. They can evaluate how your body moves, identify habits that may be slowing your progress, and create a personalized plan that matches your needs and abilities. Remember, asking for professional guidance isn't a sign that you failed. It's often one of the smartest steps you can take towards safe, lasting improvement. So what are the most important lessons to remember before you finish today's video? Before we finish, let's bring everything together with 3 simple ideas that can make this entire topic much easier to remember. First, healing starts with pressure control. It's not about avoiding movement or being afraid to exercise. It's about learning how to manage the pressure inside your abdomen before asking your body to handle bigger challenges. When your breathing, posture, and deep core begin working together, you create a stronger foundation for everything else you do. Second, your deep core matters more than visible abdominal muscles. Strong six-pack muscles may look impressive, but they aren't always the muscles that provide the support your body needs for everyday life. The muscles that wrap around your waist, work with your diaphragm, and stabilize your spine are the real heroes behind comfortable movement, good balance, and a more stable core. Third, consistency will almost always beat intensity. You don't need exhausting workouts or endless repetitions to make progress. A few minutes of careful, well-practiced movement each day can be far more valuable than pushing yourself too hard once in a while. Recovery is rarely about doing the most. It's about doing the right things often enough that your body has time to adapt. If today's discussion has taught you anything, let it be this. Don't judge your progress only by what you see in the mirror. Pay attention to how you move, how you feel, and how confidently you can go about your daily activities. Those small improvements are often the first signs that your body is responding. Every controlled breath, every mindful movement, and every healthy habit is another step toward building a stronger, more supportive core. Small daily actions may seem insignificant at first, but over weeks and months, they can lead to meaningful changes that improve both comfort and confidence. With those key lessons in mind, there's one final message I want to leave you with before we wrap up. If there's one thought I hope you take away today, it's this. Healing is a process, not a race. Your body doesn't rebuild strength overnight, and that's perfectly okay. Real progress often happens quietly, one healthy decision at a time. Every controlled breath, every gentle exercise, and every mindful movement is helping you build a stronger foundation for the future. Please don't compare your progress with someone else's. Every person begins from a different place. Your age, health history, daily activities, and the cause of your diastasis all influence how quickly you improve. What matters most is not how fast you move forward, but that you keep moving in the right direction. Remember, your goal isn't to perform the hardest workout or achieve the perfect-looking stomach. Your goal is to create a core that supports you while you enjoy everyday life. Whether that's walking comfortably, lifting your grandchildren, gardening without discomfort, or simply getting out of bed with greater ease. Those victories are worth celebrating. Research continues to show that healthy habits practiced consistently can make a meaningful difference over time. While no single exercise guarantees recovery, combining proper technique with patience and good daily habits gives your body the best opportunity to become stronger and more resilient. If you ever feel uncertain about your symptoms or your progress, don't hesitate to speak with your healthcare provider or a qualified physical therapist. Getting professional guidance isn't a setback, it's an investment in your long-term health and confidence. If you found this video helpful, Consider sharing it with a friend, a family member, or someone who has been struggling with similar concerns. Sometimes the right information arrives at exactly the right moment, and your simple act of sharing could encourage someone to begin taking better care of their health. And if you'd like more evidence-informed videos about healthy aging, stronger movement, balance, mobility, and practical ways to reduce the risk of common health problems as you grow older, I'd love to have you join our community by subscribing. My goal is to help you understand your body with clear, trustworthy information that you can actually use in everyday life. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take care of your body, be patient with your progress, and remember this simple truth. Lasting strength isn't built through fear or frustration. It's built through knowledge, consistency, and the small choices you make every single day. Your future self will thank you.